Ang sinumang lingkod bayan ay may tungkulin na pinanumpaan. Nanumpa na maglilingkod ng buong puso batay sa tanggapan na kanyang pamumunuan. Bago ang lahat, mamamayan muna. Ito ang palatuntunang maglalahat ng mga tuwirang impormasyon upang magsilbing gabay ng ating mga nanunungkulan saan mang tanggapan ng pamahalaan para sa kapakanan ng mamamayan. Bago ang lahat, mamamayan muna. Maglalatag ng mga naangkop na payo para sa lahat ng mamamayan na umaasam ng tunay na pagbabago at kaginhawahan sa buhay. Bago ang lahat, mamamayan muna. At ngayon, narito ang inyong lingkod, Cora Alma De Leon.
Ang Pilipino, naiiba, natatangi, alamin ang mga gintuang katangian ng ating dakilang lahi.
Iba-ibang ating pinagmulahan, sa iisang bayang sinilangan. Mga islang biyaya sa pinagpala, likha ng isang Diyos o bathala. Tinataglay ang dakilang yaman, sa atin binigay ang perlas ng silangan. Gintong lupa't haragatan, kay gandang kalikasan, ito'y sasagipin pangangalagaan.
Yan ang Pilipino, mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, kailangan ng mundo. Ang Pilipino, mapagmahal ang lahi ko, may tapang malasakit. Kaming mga Pilipino, mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, payabunin natin to. Ang Pilipino, mapagmahal ang lahi ko, masipag malikhain, yan ang Pilipino.
Halo-halo man ang ating ibig, iisa pa rin ang ating lahi.
Katotohanan ng kalooban, ating isabuhay. Ako, ikaw, tayo'y magmahalan.
Yan ang Pilipino, mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, kailangan ng mundo. Ang Pilipino, mapagmahal ang lahi ko, ay tapang malasakit. Kaming mga Pilipino, mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, payabungin natin ko. Ang Pilipino, mapagmahal ang lahi ko, masipag malikhain, yan ang Pilipino. Mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, kailangan namin ito. Ang Pilipino, mapagmahal ang lahi ko, ay dapat malasakit. Kaming mga Pilipino, likas ang talino, payabunin natin to. Ang Pilipino, isa ang lahi,
pang
Higit sa lahat, maraming pasasalamat kay Ginang Sonia Rocco for making this song available to our program. Welcome, Dr.Reymund Arcega. You are moving and sisimulan natin ang programa. I was able to get a guest, si Gina Rodriguez Valera, former staff ko sa Civil Service Commission. She went through very difficult circumstance, having lost first her husband, then her mother, and then her, sabi ko, mahalagang malaman ang coping mechanisms ng a mother with her two children who became her anchors. Kaya pumayag naman siya na maanyayahan maging guest para actually magaling din kumanta ito. Sana mapakakanta rin natin siya. But anyway, simulan natin ang programa because you come in about 15 minutes later. Prayer for the nation. Lord, let me be the change I want to see, to do with strength and wisdom all that needs to be done, and become the hope that I can be. Set me free from my fears and hesitations. Grant me the courage and humility. Fill me with spirit to face the challenge and start the change I long to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark in faith, service, and communion. Let us start the change we want to see, the change that begins in me. At again, for 35 years, nanumpa ako sa watawat at uulitin ko din ngayon. Ako ay Pilipino, buong katapatang nanunumpa sa watawat ng Pilipinas at sa bansang kanyang sinasagisag na may dangal, katarungan at kalayaan na pinakikilos ng sambayan ng makadiyos, makakalikasan, makatao at makabansa.
panunumpa ng lingkod bayan. Ako'y isang lingkod bayan, pangangalagaan ko ang tiwalang ipinagkaloob ng mamamayan. Maglilingkod ako ng may malasakit, katapatan at kausayan na walang kinikilingan. Magiging mabuting halimbawa ako at magbibigay ng pag-asa at inspirasyon sa ating kapwa lingkod bayan. Lilinangin ko ang aking sariling kakayahan upang sa lahat ng panahon ay mapaglingkuran ko ng buong kausayan ang sambayanan. Hindi ako makikibahagi sa mga katiwalian sa pamahalaan. Pipigilan at isisiwalat ko ito sa pamamagitan ng tama at angkop na pamamaraan. Isasabuhay ko ang isang lingkod bayang makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan at makabansa. Tutugon ako sa mga hamon ng makabagong panahon tungo sa adhikain ng matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay. Sa mga tungkulin at hangarin ito, kasihan nawa ako ng may kapal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reymund Arcega. At ngayon naman ay babasahin ko yung poem na Unless Someone Cares, dedicated to Deacon Kate Gordon, na parang angkop na angkop sa mga nanalo sa ating eleksyon. I don't think our communities will ever be clean and green unless someone cares. I don't believe our government will be good, just, and honest unless someone cares. I don't expect our leaders to be morally upright and politically sensitive unless someone cares. I don't expect a better life for our poor and oppressed people unless someone cares. I don't have the faith that we face a brighter future unless someone cares. I don't feel we will ever realize our dreams and aspirations unless someone cares. I don't know if we will all live our sense of purpose to build a better world unless someone cares. That someone is us, that someone is you and me, that someone is everybody, for we all must care. And today I have invited, as I mentioned, si Gina Rodriguez Valera, who went through a struggle recently but has accepted my invitation, short notice invitation, to speak before us, to be interviewed, dahil ang gusto kong malaman how does a woman, how does a mother cope with the challenges that she faces. She did say that she will be on kapag in about 10 or 15 minutes. Pero siguro pero siguro pwede natin simulan yung outcome ng elections. Raymond, anong masasabi mo sa outcome ng elections? Kasi mahalagang din ma-take up natin yan.
Magandang hapon po sa ating mga tagapanood at tagapakinig ngayong hapon na ito. At syempre sa mga makakakita ng ating live video ngayong hapon na ito. Magandang hapon, Secretary De Leon. At ako'y masaya na after election, we're here back sa ating programang Bago ang Lahat, Mamamayan muna. And syempre, mainit-init pa mula nung May 9, ang mga marugdob na nararamdaman ng mga supporter ng ating mga presidential vote. So, kumusta naman, Secretary, di ba? Yan ang tanong ni Secretary pagkatapos ng ating eleksyon noong May 9, 2022, di ba? So, syempre, ang unang sagot dyan, Secretary Cora, merong nagdidiwang sapagkat nanalo ang kanilang kandidato at meron namang nalulungkot sapagkat ang kanilang pinaninindigan at pinaniniwalaang mga kandidato ay hindi pinalad na manalo ngayong eleksyon na ito. So ang ating palagay, Secretary, ay pantay. Maraming nagdidiwang at maraming nalulungkot sapagkat hindi nanalo ang kanilang mga kandidato. Mukhang narito na po ang ating panauhin, si Ma'am Gina Rodriguez Valera. Magandang hapon po, Ma'am.
Good afternoon,
Wala pa yata
Dr. Arcega and Chairman Cora Alma De Leon.
Oo. Wala ka pang picture.
I have a picture in the Zoom ho.
Sige, sige.
Is my camera working there?
Yes, okay. Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
So katatapos lang po namin ng umpisahan ng ating programa, medyo nag-adlib lang po kami habang naghihintay sa inyo at nag-umpisa po kaming mag-usap ni Secretary tungkol sa kumusta naman pagkatapos ng eleksyon. Pero bagamat tayo dadako pa doon mamaya, Ma'am Gina, gusto po namin umpisahan ang aming panayam ngayong hapon na ito. Una, we're blessed na you're able to join us. I understand it was a short notice, at maraming salamat po.
In 10
Okay.
minutes. If it were not for my love for my former chairman of the Civil Service Commission, I would not be here.
Yes. No, pero ako naman, may utang talaga ako. I have not been able to see Gina during those trying times, pero I was always watching sa Zoom yung mga masses. I was always there. And wala lang talagang face-to-face. Pero siguro wag muna yun ang pag-usapan natin, because that can come later. I just want to tell the people watching that the last time Gina and I were working was in 2001. And that's already 21 years ago. And yet, we still have disconnectedness. Yun ang gusto ko lang i-emphasize ngayon. Despite the fact that we have been, we parted ways in a way because of the work and having been retired in 2001, nakita kong hindi dapat maging sagabal yun sa connectedness. And Gina knows that. We've been together many times in between those 21 years. And more recently, of course, the private pain that she experienced. Pero sabi ko nga, ang gusto ko talagang makita dito sa kanya yung kumanta siya. Kasi alam mo, ang galing-galing kumanta niya. Pero I don't know kung willing pa siya kumanta. Pero siguro simulan na lang natin dyan. Raymond, ikaw munang magtanong kay Gina. Kasi yung introduction is always kay Raymond. Alam mo yan, yan sa university, kaya kailangan siya ang magtatanong tungkol doon. Go ahead, Raymond.
Muli, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Finally, nakasama na natin ang ating inaasam na panauhin na nagbigay pagkalipas ng 10 minuto na makasama natin ngayong hapon na ito. At gaya ng aming nakagawian, Ma'am Valera, gusto po kayong makilala ng ating mga tagapanood. Gusto po nilang malaman kung saan po kayo pinanganak, sino po ang inyong mga magulang, siguro po yung mga paaralan, mga kurso na inyong tinapos at maganda rin pong malaman ngayong hapon sa inyo kung ano po ang inyong mga posisyon o mga trabaho o career na nagampanan sa buong buhay ninyo. So maraming salamat po at magandang hapon, Ma'am Valero.
Okay. Thank you for that introduction and that very comprehensive query, Dr. Arcega. Mukhang doktor talaga pang PhD. Um, Ganito po yan, to give a context to what I'm going to say about coping. It's very good that you asked the background questions. I am an only child. Let's start with that. So dun pa lang medyo, kung tatanungin mo yung coping mechanisms, ang only child, usually, mahihirapan yan eh. Kasi in a society where there are so many people and there's so many, how do you call it, different personalities, usually mahihirapan ang only child. Okay? Okay, and then I was a nerd from the very start. My world was academics. Syempre, well, I would play, but usually as a kid, no? But usually with my cousins, well, a few neighbors, yeah. And then I graduated valedictorian at the Dominican School of Manila. Okay. The nerd in me continued at St. Paul's College in Quezon City High School. I graduated valedictorian also at St. Paul's High School. And then suddenly from an exclusive girls' school, I was thrust into UP. So I entered as an entrance scholar at the University of the Philippines College of Economics, School of Economics. And I graduated cum laude from the School of Economics. After which I worked in the private sector first as an assistant marketing manager first with RFM and First Pacific. And then I was immediately promoted to brand marketing manager. And then law school beckoned. So because my father was a lawyer in the military. So siguro, well, come to think of it, backtrack natin, ano. We have 1 hour naman, mama, no?
Yes, take your time. This is your time.
Okay. Actually, my first course at UP was BS Biology. So, because I was being how do you call it? I was being assessed psychologically in high school, and they were saying, oh, you could go into all kinds of any course, so any field. And my family was a mixture of lawyers and doctors, but more of doctors. So BS Bio, pre-med, thinking pre-med. Okay. I would study very well, and then I would just get 89, 90. Sabi ko, and I would always question why does it appear this way in the microscope and not this way. So sabi ng dad ko, ay iha, mukha ngang pang-abogado ka, hindi ka dapat nagko-question ng ganyan pag nasa scientific world ka. You just, it's an exact science, you just take it as it is. So I shifted into economics, which was more difficult, ha? Talagang kung hindi ko professor si Professor Solita Monsod. Oh, she was an excellent professor. Very cool. But what you could not understand in books, goodness gracious, she just with the wine glass on one hand, with the cigarette on one hand, and explains a little bit, naintindihan mo na. So talagang, she makes things very simple. I graduated cum laude in the School of Economics of UP. So because of that, probably because of my very good professors also. And then, so I worked after that, as what I said, in the private sector as a brand marketing manager, and then law school back on. So, in law, diyan na ako nabarkada. Baliktad. Baliktad.
Ah,
Oo. Probably the assessment in me was that sobra ako napagod sa pag-aaral. Diyan ako naging well-rounded. But no regrets about it. It probably honed me to my experiences from the academics to the working sector through all the personal journeys. Um, that's what honed me into being able to cope with the highs and lows of life. So we're going there slowly. Come law school, hindi na ako masyadong nerd. Pero yes, I I had very good standing the first 2 years, but afterwards I was president of Women in Law, WinLaw, so marami ng extracurricular activities. My boyfriend pa. So ang boyfriend ko, yan ang napangasawa ko.
ah,
Doktor. Yes. My first serious boyfriend.
boyfriend.
Yes, was in the College of Medicine, not of UP but of UERM. So, sabay kaming mahahaba ang kurso na nag-aral. While he was studying medicine, I was studying law, both in proper. Okay. We were boyfriends, girlfriends for 8 years until I graduated from law. Take note, wala nang honors yan. Tapos, and my handwriting was very bad. Actually, baliktad kami. Dapat ako yung doktor kasi ang handwriting ko pan-doktor. Si Dr. Norman Valera, yan ang mas maganda ang handwriting. Mas naiintindihan. And we're both very artistic. He would paint. He is into painting and would grow bonsais. Bonsai is an art also because
Yes.
you shape the leaves, the stems, etc. I was in the performing arts. I would sing, I would dance. I was a dancer in UP ECOSO, School of Economics. Oh, Dr. Arcega, drive carefully. So you're there. Okay. So while after law school, graduating from UP Law, I took the bar and obviously my handwriting. Kaya nga ngayon is my time dapat eh. Kung hindi lang 30 years. Kasi
Also,
computerized na yung bar nila.
computerized na, yes.
Yes. Okay. I went into a law firm for a while. Then afterwards, I contacted a job opening, which appeared to be very near our house. Our house is in Commonwealth, is here now in Commonwealth where we live now, Barangay Holy Spirit, Mapayapa Village. CSC, Civil Service Commission, was just like 10 minutes away. So I entered into the Office for Legal Affairs, OLA, of the Civil Service Commission, and became a legal officer. I started with being a senior personal specialist, and then I became a conciliator under Chairman De Leon's office. So I became a conciliator, and then after 12 years, I became a director. Dr. Arcega, napakalayo ng direktoran ko. When I became a director, I was given the Taguig Field Office, Bikutan Taguig. Noon pa lang, from the start, medyo nahihilo na ako sa Makati ng travel. Ito, Bikutan Taguig ang office. So my gosh, 3 hours traffic. So when I was offered to be a deputy administrator of the Philippine Coconut Authority, I grabbed it. because it's an elliptical circle. Oh, and deputy administrator pa is the rank of D4, Director 4 at the civil service. So it was very good. And then afterwards, my classmates at UP um, uh, advised me that there's an opening as a deputy administrator also nearer pa, Katipunan area, um, at the MWSS Regulatory Office. O, deputy administrator then, so lipat ako. By then, um, Chairman De Leon was very proud of me, became a director, became a deputy administrator, but she was cautioning me already. Ay, ang palipat-lipat mo, green, stones, rolling stones do not um, gather moss,
No.
gather.
A rolling stone gathers no moss.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
But I gathered experiences, ma'am.
Yes.
And it probably made me stronger. It added a lot of competencies because my leadership strengths were put to test, were really honed. My strategic thinking was really honed because you now deal with staff of different personalities, of uh, different competencies. So how you can hone them. And my idol, by the way, was Chairman Cora Alma De Leon. So, I had to be motherly the way she was motherly, but I had to be iron fisted too. May pagka stricta ako as a boss. Maybe stricter than Chairman De Leon. Kaya mas madali akong tinubuan ng thyroid tumor dito because of the stress. So when that happened, my husband, Dr. Norman, already counseled me and said, Ayhan, boss ka nga pero mukhang mas masipag ka sa mga sa mga staff mo. Umuwi ako mga 11 o'clock. Baliktad, normally you're the traditional how do you call it? Image of a boss is that
Comes late, goes home early.
not too late. Comes home early. But I come early enough. But I go home very late because I finish after all the meetings, after all the execoms, the mancoms. I always want to go back to my office and see to it that nothing, I learned that also from Chairman Leon, nothing is left on top of the desk. And because also, even for myself, stricta rin ako sa sarili ko. I'm self-disciplined also, which I try to find in my subordinates, pero mahirap nga yung ganyan from my teammates. You don't try to find yourself in other people, otherwise you would always be disappointed. But anyway, I try to clear my desk by really, and before I sign, I really study. So talagang mamaya-maya, malay ako, 11 o'clock na in the evening. So, when the size of a golf ball, thyroid tumor grew here. So my husband said, ay nako, pahinga ka na, mag-early retirement ka na. Pag-compute ko, 13 and a half years pa lang ako. So sayang. Okay. So, continue pa rin ako until, sige na, I could feel something natakot na rin ako because may linya kami ng cancer. My father died, my father had colon cancer. He might have died of complications of diabetes, but still, cancer was very much in the blood. So, sige, pinagbigyan ko. Mamaya, hindi ako nakatiis. Okay, first coping mechanism yun. So, I'm suddenly out of work, out of a job for after 13 years. You know, it's nakakawindang din. So, wala pang pandemic noon, ha? So, talagang sabi ko, I've got to do something. You know, I'm very restless eh. I'm a very restless type of a person. So, wala pang pandemic noon, nasa online na ako, may online shop na ako. So I was going online selling, but not the live one, ha? But I just had an online shop. So I wasn't satisfied. I went back this time to the private sector. I became vice president of an advertising media company. Vice President for HR, CQI, that's Continuing Quality Improvement, ISO, and legal. So I was back in Makati. So even my friends were saying, akala ko ba ayaw mo ng traffic ng Bikutan at Taguig at saka Makati? Well, it was there. And Grab was there. So I didn't have to drive. So until, noon, 800 na ang pamasahe ng Grab. Ha? So talagang buti na lang yung sweldo pang vice president na. O sige, go. Yeah. Until my thyroid tumor got bigger. So sabi ni Norman, mas malaki na sa golf ball yan. Kitang-kita when I was talking. So I had my family, modesty aside, had large tracts of lands, almost 300 hectares in Marinduque. So they were saying, help us naman, help us manage. Okay, together with my cousins. Okay, so sure. So that was what I did upon finally retiring from the government and the private sector. Aside from my online shop, I was managing our lands up until now with the help of my cousins and Tita also, who was aging already in Marinduque. So, and both father and mother side had lands. So, of course, when you're not there, it becomes problematic because if you're not, you're an absentee landlord. That's where a lot of work comes in. And so I had my thyroid tumor as aspirated. So kumupis, pero may natira. Okay, my cousin was saying, we have to have it operated on. I refused. Okay. And then coping mechanism number 2, always pray. Actually, that's the first. That's the first coping mechanism. You always pray through the ups and downs of life. And when you feel scared, when you feel in doubt, that you are in doubt, when you feel you're lost. And by the way, I never had the feeling of being lost. But I've always had I've had my share of being human and feeling a little scared because you don't know what's going to happen in the future, etc. So I just rested, did my sometimes it's stressful too. Even your online shops, your businesses, your lands, especially lands management. So it could really get stressful too. And even in the house, you're even with helpers or recruiting for helpers. Lahat yan, puro may stress yan. Kaya nga, dun sa tinatamad magtrabaho, kahit humilata ka sa bahay, there is stress. Yeah, when you're not when you're not adding to the income o coffers of the family, aba dapat ma-stress ka niyan, 'di ba? So, um, even if you're middle class, even if you have uh, uh, what's this a back you fallback, um, there is still, of course, the uncertainty until the pandemic came. O di lalo na, 'di ba? Hindi ka makalabas, hindi ka your resources are controlled, very much controlled and are limited. There is so much that you can do. But coping mechanism number 3, use the internet, use technology now for your own good. I mean, you have so many resources. Thank God for these resources now. Zoom, um, Facebook, uh, Twitter. Um, Sorry for the advertisement, pero the Shopee, Lazada. Oh, so hindi lang pang aliw. Dapat
Ang negosyo pa.
negosyo. Gamitin
Oo.
mo negosyo. YouTube. Oh. So, all of these we can tap as not only coping mechanisms, but as a measure, not only surviving mechanisms, but for livelihood.
Yes.
And we always should um, um take the term livelihood as being rooted in the word life. It
Mhm.
gives life, so it's not just money, but it's because you want to be productive. You want
Yeah.
to, yeah, you want to keep the faith and give hope to yourself and your family. So that's it. And then um, the worst came. This is what Chairman De Leon was referring to. It started last year, 2017, 2021 rather, September. My husband, whom I'm used to just hearing him lecture on the other side of our house. Um, he was always lecturing in anatomy to medical students. Um, just was suddenly burping frequently. So weird, no? Nagbo-burp naman ang mga lalaki malalakas, di ba? Pero this was most frequent, no? So this was weird. Uh, and then even he, as a doctor, was wondering, and he had that uh, look in his eyes when he was looking at me, thinking ba, yung parang worried na, tahimik yan si Dr. Norman. Tahimik pero pag good mood, magulo, maingay din. Pero suddenly, I was, and we could, even in his uh, workplace, his colleagues, fellow doctors, would
Notice.
notice that
Mhm.
he was getting thinner, getting thinner. So um, we had tests done even in the house, the blood tests. Pero CT scan, they really have to brave. He and my son really had to brave going to the laboratories. Um, and then he was finally diagnosed with liver cancer and stage 3.5 kaagad, going to stage 4. Actually, I have a feeling the doctor just wanted
Yeah.
to soften the blow and just say 3.5, but actually it was stage 4 because the portal vein, the one leading uh, connecting the liver to the heart, was blocked. So that was stage 4. So it was really um, I cannot describe the pain and the shock. Like every day for the next 6 months, we were crying. And take note, my mom who was living with me, I'm an only child only child din si mommy, um, suddenly fell. Walang kasakit-sakit si mommy. She just fell. Well, her knees were already weak. Um, she was already on a cane. So while Norman was nauseous, he was on oral chemo meds. Mom
Therapy.
suddenly fell in his room, kumalabog. So, and we found her lying on the floor. She had a bump here and a little blood, and then um, her legs. Okay. Buti na lang, mukhang there was no fracture because even if Norman was already sick and he wasn't bedridden that time yet, so he could still guide us. And I had a cousin uh, who was in a neighboring village, whom I was always see. We're a family of doctors nga, so we could just consult each other. So, can you imagine? We bought two hospital beds. The house became a mini
Hospital.
hospital because hindi basta-basta ka pupunta sa hospital at this time because there was still COVID. And Norman was confined for a while. It was my son with him in the ER. Then I substituted for him. Only one um, bantay companion was allowed. So, and after RT-PCR pa yan. So I was with him for 4 days. And we had to get a caregiver, Yaya, for mom because she was already bedridden also. Even her good leg was nasanay naka-curve. So even if there was no fracture, um, she was really almost bedridden already, couldn't move much. Well, could move the upper body, but the lower body not so much. So we had to get a yaya for her. And Norman, by the way, being a doctor, was a very difficult patient because they know how what's gonna happen in the end. In fact, okay, I had to be the counselor for him because he was losing hope.
Yeah.
He was very bitter. Um, before, um, well, he already lost his mother at almost the same age, um, 58 when his mother died of breast cancer also.
Um,
So talagang cancer. So now that he's just 55, parang he's saying, God, why naman
yeah.
me? Why naman so early? And kawawa naman my family. Nag-iisang anak si Gina, etc. So, um, it was very difficult. Uh, the only explanation how I would I was able to steer my family, Norman, who was terminally ill, who was dying, my mom, who was ailing already
Bedridden.
because bedridden, and now progressively Norman was bedridden too, and he did not like nurses. He did not like going
Caregiving.
back to the hospital. He did not
Yeah.
like caregivers. So talagang kami. So, and hats off to my son who was really who really bore physically all because siya lang ang kaya ng katawan ni Norman. Um, siya lang ang may kayang well,
Kargayan.
the yaya
Lift.
wasn't there to lift my mom, my mom, his lola. And then my daughter was on a thesis, finishing her 5th year, graduating now. Thank God she also made it already. She successfully defended her thesis already the other day. So she's graduating this June or July. from the UP College of Architecture. Imagine
Wow.
and my son graduated magna cum laude from UP Business Ad, and my daughter, hopefully, the last time we checked, she was magna standing, Manya also. So hopefully she does, if not cum. So let's see. Um, but imagine trying to concentrate on studying while you could hear the delirious cries of her lola, and her
Your
and
husband, father.
then looking at the dad. He wasn't screaming in pain, but you could see the difficulty in him, um, and his utter quietness. So um, we've probably reached the point wherein um, tears have already dried up, and it's more of pain. You know, so much pain. But the only explanation, I think, um, how we got through all of that is God.
Yeah.
We never let go of God's hands. Um, no matter if people might say, even my son might say, "Mom, it's easy for us to judge Dad. Na why are you so bitter? Why are you so?" I even got very mad at him because I had to jolt him into going back to God. And I was praying.
Yeah.
My prayer was, God, give him back to me, to lead him back
To you.
to
Yeah.
me, because he was being very cross already to me also, and even to my father-in-law. Why? Because we wanted an extension of his life, which he didn't want. He didn't want to be brought to the hospital anymore. Should he um, grapple for air? Should he grasp for air? And we had an oxygen tank anyway. But kahit na, those emergency measures should be done in the hospital. Pumayag lang siya with a palliative care team of doctors. But okay, I'll make kwento
And
to you this part, um, which could sum it all up, na wag bibitaw sa Diyos. Because I told him, I asked God, give him back to me, let him be nice to me again, so I can lead him back to you. Okay. I couldn't even get a priest because he might get irritated with the priest because he was very bitter, and that day he was as religious as me, um, as I am, and he would even be the one to say, um, let's have mass first on Sundays before going to the malls. Unahin ang Diyos. But now he was the exact opposite. He was very bitter. Guess what? On Valentine's Day, he gave a pillow to me. He barely could speak already. Ganyan daw ang may cancer, di ba? Yung parang it goes to the
yeah.
esophagus already. You're very weak. He gave a pillow, a baby pillow to me and said, I love you. So I cried and I cried and I started praying the rosary very loud. So, and then he said, he didn't object anymore. And then I asked our neighbors to contact the priest. They were able to contact the priest, who blessed him and blessed my mom also. I asked him to bless my mom also, and everybody else in the house, together with the yaya and the whole household and my father-in-law. And then he died the next day.
Yeah.
So early morning. And then here we go, huh? It's my mother now, after
Burial, di ba?
burial. cremation
Oo.
and internment of Norman.
Ah,
Here goes mom. He w-
she
she
goes,
was she was not getting serious, but she was not getting any better. So Dayaya was and she had very good appetite. And then Dayaya was noticing that her appetite was going
uh,
down, and then uh, her breathing, she was breathing good, well, but her eyes were getting closed. Okay, and then, well, to cut the long story short, 1.5 months later, after my husband died, my mom
she
died.
passed away. Yeah.
She passed away at the
Well,
age of
I think
84.
that's a good ending, no? Because in the next 4 minutes, lessons learned na lang tayo, no? Because I saw in you, Gina, sabi ko nga, coping mechanism, but you had two children who were with you. Can you imagine if you didn't have children? That's not the one point, no? Tapos, your frenetic activities eased you from the burden of seeing your husband cope with his own pain. May pain siya, may pain ka, pero ikaw, you were able to cope with a lot of activities na you could do until it was too late na. Gone na pala si Norman. But nakita ko, given the passing of your mother and of course Norman, you became the strength to all the others, your children, and of course, I am sure to even friends. Your story needs to be told and retold. Kasi people need to understand na your husband, in getting angry at you, he was angry that he couldn't do what he wanted to do to you. Yun naman ang aking analysis doon. Kaya, if you didn't understand this anger, you probably would be angry as well, as you have pointed out na nagagalit ka na rin sa kanya, no?
Yeah.
Pero sa aking palagay, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience for others to learn. Kaya sabi ko, you had a whole hour, sabihin ko, you even write your story because para sa akin, that story needs to be told and retold because your life of excellence in studies, in all that, and just one difficulty that didn't happen, never mind, but was, in other words, compensated by your success in other areas. And so, in whatever position you held, hindi ka nawala ng position. There always a job and I think that's what life is all about now, no? So, ang final words ko na lang sa'yo, sa lessons learned mo, you write na your lessons learned because this is
Yes.
the objective now of this interview. This interview should enable you to reflect. What do you remember? What do you celebrate? And what do you believe? Because yung three words na yun, it's really captured also in the quotation ko from Rabindranath Tagore, which I end the program. Raymond is driving already to wherever he's going. Itong poem na to binabasa ko, and this is for you. Where mind is without fear and head held high, where the world has not been broken to fragments by narrow domestic walls, where tireless strivings stretch their arms toward perfection, where the mind is led forward to thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake. Sa interview na ito, nanggising ka ng mga nanonood sa atin, even Mabel Roa, no? Good afternoon, Ma'am Cora. Tapos sabi niya, siya lang ang babasahin ko dahil kaibigan natin siya. My admiration and respect for Gina's leveled up after hearing how she coped with the recent challenging personal experiences. Thank you for having her as your guest today. God bless you. The others are Susan Labsang, Maricel Floren de Labsang, Maritza Brevega, Wendy Rebolido Jimenez, and Angelica Pac. They all uh, listen to your story, and I think your story needs to be told and retold. And the best way is to write your story. So, in thanking you, Gina, I honor you as a colleague and 21 years later, you still have the achiever, Gina, the achiever, and I know you will be fine against all odds. Your final word, Gina?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman Corazon Alma De Leon and Dr. Arcega. Thank you very much for having me as a guest. Just the parting words to all your viewers. Um, through life's ups and downs, the best, um, the best um, fallback or uh, the best coping mechanism is really prayer,
Yeah.
is really God. Um, then everything else follows. What God will enlighten you to whatever you have to do. And you just have to find the strength in you to give hope to others and to make your life an example to others that
Yes.
life goes on and life must move on, um, so you could still fulfill your own mission in life.
Yeah. Great. Great. So let's have a photo. Uh, Raymond, no? We will have a photo. Take off your